Hello?
Yo, what's up, dude? How you doing, Doctor
Hey.
Disaster?
Good, good, good.
Good. You ready for some fucking coaching, dude?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right. I guess the way I always do with everyone. I mean, I've done it with you before, but let me know how it's
Yes.
going with you again, and let me know where you're at, and what's the plan for today?
Um, yeah, just thinking of going over a couple of like scenarios with you.
Okay.
I guess maybe with a couple of replays. I'm still stuck in Plat 2, so
All right.
I mean,
No
not
worries.
much has changed. I don't know. I feel like people got better. Uh,
Yeah. No,
maybe in
I don't disagree with you. The game definitely. That's how I felt too over the last like year. I'm like, what the fuck is my Terran specifically has felt like this? Like, why is
yeah,
my Terran's like average MMR just going down, and I'm like learning more with this race? What the fuck?
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's people are playing more, and I guess I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Game's harder, dude. Shit's
Yeah,
hard.
for sure.
Uh,
Um, so Terran is still kind of my most frustrating matchup still,
okay.
and the one thing I've kind of run up against, which I can't really find a good like like a micro-less counter to, is just the MMM, the Bio Ball.
Yeah. What are you doing with that or against that?
I'm right now I'm just trying to do like Archon and Immortal and charge slots. I
Okay.
think I am doing that, but I guess
Yeah.
I'm not doing it well or something. But
I would say, like, if you wanted to, I don't know if we talked about this for you specifically, and you can tell me if we have, if you remember that we talked about this at all. But if you have a problem, especially now that Widow Mines are a heavy like meta unit, an
mhm.
easy way you could just alter your build is like in every matchup is you could honestly just start going for like an opener where maybe you go into like 3 immortals or something, just like a few immortals, and then you just shift gears right into Colossus, and you go into like if you can kind of like keep track of it, go up to like 4 Colossus and then go back into making immortals again. And if
So
you
you think mixing up Immortals and Colossus would be a
they
good
would
move?
fucking own Widow Mines. It would be super good
Widow
against
Mines.
Bio and Widow Mines, like Bio Mine style Terran players.
Okay.
So it,
Because I saw a replay you had, and you did pretty well, but it was with disruptors, which I think I'm not really
yeah, disruptors.
quite
I
good
would not
with.
recommend that for you in plat. there's a
Yeah.
there's a chance you're gonna like just shoot a disruptor shot and then green box your whole army, move it back, and the disruptor shot comes with you because you can also control that, and then
Oh
it
yeah,
blows up your fucking
I can
army.
definitely see that
Yeah,
happening.
and you're like, oh wait, well no. But
I could definitely see that
yeah,
happening.
disruptors definitely require a lot of finesse, a lot of like micromanaging. But
Mhm.
Colossus are 100% a move. Um,
Mhm.
they're they're nice too because they are their own concave unit, and what I mean by that is that a Colossus, the only unit in the game that a Colossus has collision with, is another Colossus. It walks over every other unit you make. So like a Colossus can walk over every gateway unit, every Immortals, whatever. So like they always get good positioning in the fight. They're never like stuck in the back. If you have like this
Yeah.
little hallway situation going on or something like
Mm.
that. So they're easy as fuck to use, and they just murder light-based units, which
Yeah.
is half of the like more than half of the army if it's Marine Medevac Marauder and Widowmine,
Mhm.
because Medevacs and Marauders obviously Medevacs can get hit by air or they're air units so they can't get hit, but Marauders are heavy or they're armored rather, so they're not going to really take much damage from the Colossus, even though they're not the highest HP unit in the first place though, so they still do take quite a bit of damage in general because it's bio. But Widowmines and fucking Marines just get melted by Colossus like crazy fast. Uh, but yeah, I feel like that would help you a shitload if you started doing that against Widowmine style
Do you
players.
do you think going to Robos is a move too, or no?
No, not necessarily. Because you're doing B to GM shit, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. No, I would say no. You just do one, and then
Mhm.
if you get a scout, so like, let me ask you a question: Are you trying to implement a lot of scouting with the sentry, like the hallucinations?
Yeah, I'm trying. Yes. I'm not sure if I saw I'm scouting, and then I'm looking. All right. Do the barracks have, tech labs
Sure,
or reactors, right? And then
sure.
seeing how many factories they got. So I kind of keep like a little tab. You know, I'm not the greatest at. I scout, but I'm not the greatest at interpreting that intelligence. And
Okay. Well, you want to know something that would be super easy that you can scout just for
yeah.
now against all Terrans would
Mm.
be just look at the factory. If there is,
Okay.
if factory exists and factory has a reactor, you rush to Colossus tech. And
Okay.
you just start making, like, you make immortals until you can make Colossus, and then you make Colossus till you have 4 of them, and then go back to making immortals. And
Okay.
either that, or if you see a Widow Mine, like for instance, if your hallucination flies over the guy's base and you see a Widow Mine walking around or some shit, just go
Yeah.
Colossus. The
Go
only time
Colossus.
it would suck to go Colossus, more or less, is if your opponent has like a tech lab on the factory instead of a reactor, and he's just legit going for tanks. And even then, it's not the worst, but it's not great. Like you have to definitely position your army in a pretty decent way, because if he's doing something like that, I would be like, you'd probably have been better off if you just had immortals.
Okay.
But yeah, like if you see,
So reactor on the factory means widow mines.
it means Widow Mines or it means aliens, and either one of like Widow Mines are the scarier option there, and both of those get fucked over by Colossus.
Okay.
But yeah, like that could just be how you do ZVT or PVT. Is yeah, you just scout. Oh, Colossus would be good here. You rush for Colossus, then you go back to Mortals.
Good. No.
Otherwise, how's your PvZ and PvP so far? Like right now?
PVZ. I've been running some trouble too, just because I feel like I guess Zerg knows better how to counter Sky Toss now. I think they know to hit before the third is kind of fully up, and they just go mass Hydra. I think Roach. I'm not entirely sure what they're doing,
Sure.
but they're always like overwhelming me with units before I even really have my third up. So I'm like, all right, like because I'm trying to do the Sky Toss build, since it seems once it's up and running, it's pretty Gucci.
Yeah. Are you
So
are you doing the shit where like you open up voids and go into just straight Sky Toss? Or are you going into like some type of a ground composition with it?
that depends. I think like if I see him scout me and I see him going Hydralist, I may go for some ground units initially while you know expanding, just to kind of try to counter the Hydras, and then fully go to Sky Toss once I'm like three bases fully saturated.
Okay. I have another
Does
question
that
for
make
you.
sense?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
does.
sorry.
No, you're all good. No worries, dude. My other question would be, when you go Void Ray opener, how
Mhm.
aggressive are you with those Void Rays?
Not very, because
Okay.
I end up losing them
Because
more often than not.
yeah, no, for sure, I get it. But that is the power of that build. So if you're not actually
So
being
I got
aggressive, you should just stop
I
doing
gotta
it. I
be
think.
aggressive.
Yeah.
So it's like what I mean, like it's like harassing mineral lines.
So the point of being aggressive is it's 2 reasons. Well, number 1, at that point in the game, if you're very like active with your voids, it's really hard to lose them. Like it should be really hard to lose your voids. The only reason why they would die is because you just forget about it and you're like, oh shit, it's dead. Whoops.
Mhm.
But in general, it's super tanky versus what Zerg has to offer. So the best Zerg should hope for at the early stage of the game is zoning out your Void Rays, not killing them. And the more that you can kill in the process, like for instance, if you pop 2 drones, that's fucking amazing. You're like, oh, sick. I just killed like
Mhm.
2, 3, 4 drones. That's super good. Or if you force more of a reaction than what Zerg should be doing, that's also amazing. Like for instance, if you force a Zerg to make more spore crawlers than he would have wanted to, or if you make the Zerg
Okay.
make gas faster than he wants to because, um, you're making him feel pressured, so he's like kind of fucking his build up in certain ways to like get other things out in the game. These things will definitely fuck the Zerg over if you play aggressive with Void. But if you play defensive with Void, honestly, it's not really worth going for. I would say you'd be better off opening Robo into Stargate later, because if you do that,
Okay.
it's easier to be defensive against Zergs who do these weird fucking timings.
Okay.
And if you go for a Stargate later, it covers you really well against Zergs who go for things like, let's say if a Zerg was like a Mutalisk kind of player. I don't know how often you run a Zergs who do that kind of shit, but
It's rare, but I have run into it, and it's pretty annoying.
yeah, for sure. And one of the easiest ways you could beat Spire player is you just literally, if you're scouting properly with like your hallucinated Phoenix and you go, oh
Yeah.
shit, there's a
One
Spire.
time I saw it, and then I still couldn't counter it because
If
he just put so many on the field.
all you got to do if you want to counter mutaplay, if you were playing defensively, is legit just add in, like, let's say you're on 2 Stargates, okay? Like, your whole army, whatever it is, and now you have 2 Stargates coming up behind it. That is, like, so I'll just say this. Stargates are optional, just to throw it out there. They're not required. But all you got to do is split your army that exists around your bases, like your Stalkers, for instance, and put them into each of your mineral lines, and then add in, like, a battery and 2 cannons in each of your mineral lines. And you will fucking shut mutas down like crazy.
Okay. Yeah, I should probably do that. So in that scenario, say like I'm not doing, or so if I open with Stargate, I should try to do some damage with the Void. So I send my first Void out, or do I wait for 2, or?
Okay, so there's a lot of versions of Void Rays, and no matter what version you do, though, if you open Stargate, you do need to be aggressive to some degree. But like, for instance, I'll explain one version to you, okay? I'll explain the greedy version to you, which is honestly, I think, always the best option for players who don't maximize damage. Greedy is always the best way to go if you don't really know how to do all your timing attacks. So if we're talking the greedy version, one of the best ways you can do Void Ray is you open up with a build that is 1 gate straight into a Stargate, and you go into your first Void Ray will cover your third until your battery is up. And then once your battery is up, your second Void Ray can come over and continue to cover the third. If you're being pressured while your first Void Ray leaves, but your first Void Ray will always leave once the battery gets up. And then if your third is not being pressured and you feel fine, you can take both Void Rays while making more Void Rays behind this to your opponent's base. So to give you like timing windows, your first Void Ray will be out like as you start the Nexus and the Pylon at your third base. It'll like come cover that to make sure you can like get it started. And then while the second Void Ray is in construction, it won't finish faster than the Pylon. So your battery will start at your third base, and then you can move out with your first Void Ray. And when, you know, like your adepts and shit that you'll have made with the Void are covered by the SimCity that you've created there. Ideally, like they're not just standing in the middle of nowhere. They're like tucked between a Pylon and a Nexus or some shit to buy you time if you get attacked. That way, if you do get attacked, you can always recall if you need to, and your other Voider can spawn and go help the Nexus if it needs to. But if nothing attacks you at all, then your second Void Ray will spawn right around the time when your battery finishes at your third base, and then you can just move out with the second Void Ray and be like, cool, the third base is fine. Let's just move out with multiple Void Rays and kill even more stuff.
Going for mineral line damage is that's what I'm looking for. Right?
Drones, I would say priority of what you want to kill. Number 1 is workers. Number 2 is overlords. Number 3 is creep and creep spreading things like queens.
Okay.
You definitely don't want to, like, if you can overpower a queen really easy on your way, though, if it's like one queen by itself before multiple queens are there, that's also nice. But if you're like, oh, I got 3 voids, he's got 3 queens, and there's like a cliff that I could fly over to the right where I could go kill some drones, but maybe I'll fight these queens. Like, in that situation, definitely do not fight the queens. Get the hell away from them and go try to kill drones. You don't ever want to fight queens if it's fair numbers, because queens will beat you because they can transfuse.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right. Some other issue, like with Zerg, I've seen sometimes when they don't do that timing, but they scout that I'm going Sky Toss, they just go Mass, Corruptor, and Lurkers, and I can't really.
Corruptor, Lurker?
Corruptor, Lurker.
Like no Hydras at all?
No Hydras at all. So it's just Mass Corruptors and Mass Lurkers.
Okay. One of the ways you could beat that super hard would be. This is why I was kind of recommending you go for like a ground composition with it as well from earlier. Like when I was saying, if you're not aggressive, Robo would probably be better. Because
I do like that. I think better because I think I see that more commonly where the guys just come in around when I'm kind of trying to get my third up, or like it's just barely up, and then you just kind of come with like I guess maybe like a 150 supply Hydra army. Just
because if you were fighting someone who went for Corruptor Lurker, and you had like 1 Stargate Void Ray opener, and you like, let's say you forced that out of him because you did some damage to him and you made him go, oh, I feel unsafe, I'm making a bunch of Corruptors now, and you're not all in on Sky Toss right away. You're just making 1 Stargate Void Ray, and maybe you stop at 4 Void Rays, and then you make a Robo and a Templar Archives behind it, and now you suddenly have Charge the Archon Immortal. Behind Voids. And then he's got fucking Lurker Corruptor, and your Archon Immortal Charge lot just run over all the lurkers easy peasy because nothing's covering them. And then
Okay.
if he's got just a bunch of corruptors flying around your base, you could do anything
They're
you
not
want.
doing anything.
Yeah, you could be like, I'll warp in stalkers if I need to like kill you before you can
Yeah.
like piss on a nexus or anything like that. That's anything's
Yeah.
like possible for you.
I think what I was doing was I was relying on static D, but then the lurkers outrange the static
Yeah.
D,
For sure.
and then I would send in my sky toss. But I wasn't really fully maxed at that point because they would obviously max out before me. So I think their corruptors would just overpower my
If you
120, 130 supply.
the true fact about what corruptors do to Skytoss is
Yeah.
straight up air versus air, corruptors are substantially better.
Really?
They will beat the shit out of and then there's people out there that are like they don't beat void rays, but they actually do if the Zerg knows how to micro it. I don't think the Zerg is going to be going crazy on the micro in Platinum, but in general, corruptors are god mode versus Skytoss if it's just air for Protoss. The carapace on that
That's
unit.
kind of what my composition was. It was just pure air.
Yeah,
so
no,
I
that's-
guess I think you're right.
Yeah, the armor on Corruptor, like the passive armor, is way too fucking high. Like Corruptors start with 2 armor just without any upgrades, and then they go to 5 armor with level 3 Carapace, and that fucks over so many Skytoss units because a lot of Protoss units are either they're one or the other, and none of them have AOE, but it's either they hit really weak and they hit really fast, or they hit really slow and they hit really hard. Like a Tempest is the slow and hard, and everything else is the fast and weak. The only exception, to a degree, is a Void Ray, but a Void Ray is a unit that needs to have a channeled attack, and anyone who doesn't know what channeled means, it means they need to be always in range to keep doing damage. It's not like attack, cooldown, attack, cooldown, attack. It's literally like a fucking chain gun with like 8 barrels just going. It has to keep going to do damage, and a Corruptor has a faster move speed than a Void Ray. So you can actually, and also the Corruptor does all of its damage in one go. So you can just like ball up, burst the Void Ray, back up, ball up, burst the Void Ray, back up. Also, Void Rays are very weak against Spellcasters if you have just Void Rays. And Spellcasters don't take a lot of supply for Zerg. Either way, whatever, that's super advanced. We don't have to talk a lot about that. I think in Platinum, I will say Voids will probably beat Corruptors if the Zerg does not micro. But
Mass voids.
no, that's not what I'm saying either. Don't do that either.
Okay.
The point I'm trying to the main point I'm trying to make here is because I'm trying not to like say shit
Go
that's not
ground.
correct either. Is the main thing that kills Corruptors is the Archon and the fucking Storm, like the Templar. Just out of curiosity, are you familiar with like a damage meter in like World of Warcraft or something like that?
No.
Okay. Sorry. You're like, fuck no, I'm not. Okay,
Yeah,
so anyways, there's a program that calculates all of your damage percentage-wise, and it also calculates what abilities did the percentage of your damage. Okay? It's a simple concept.
Okay.
So if we had if we had one graph that's like 100% of your damage against
Yes.
Corruptors, and it broke it down into 3 portions of like, okay, there's 3 ways you did damage to these Corruptors. It was your Archons, your Templar, and your Carrier.
Mm.
The crazy thing about it is I'm not going to ask you this because I don't want to fool you or anything. I don't want to make you feel bad about anything if you answer way off. So it's a rhetorical question. You don't have to answer. But if I were to answer you, what do you think the percentage breakdown of a Carrier, a Templar, and an Archon is? I bet a lot of players out there would probably say, I don't know, probably like a Carrier probably does like 70% or like 60%. Or maybe 70, and Archons and Templar do like 30 or something. And I'd be like, no, that's not true at all. And you could even have a situation where like you could have 100 supply, or maybe like 90 supply in Carrier, and you could have like 20 supply in Archon and like 16 supply in Templar. And the crazy thing is the Archon will actually do, out of this whole fight, Archons will probably do, with that little, like 20 supply versus 90, 20 supply Archon versus 90 supply of Carrier, Archons will probably do about 60% of that damage of your whole army.
Wow.
And then the Templar will probably do about 25% of the damage, or like 30% of the damage of the rest of your army. And then the Carriers will do the last like 10%. Even if you have like 90 supply of them versus Corruptor. Like, Carrier fucking suck against Corruptor. if the
Yes.
corruptors have
Yeah, that's what
carapace.
I realized. Yeah. Sorry.
They're good at just being versatile units and killing kind of everything, but
Yeah.
they're not supposed to, they're not the units that are supposed to be killing the corruptor. Like if the corruptors
Yeah.
stack up really hard, the archons just fucking delete it, and if they're somewhat semi spread out, the damage of the Templar and the archon kind of balance out. Like Storm and the archon's auto attack kind of like stabilize together, where like both of them might be doing like 30% of the damage of your entire army, or like 40, or rather like sorry, like 45% of the damage of your entire army. So
I
like,
think I'm not.
or
I think I'm not like quite there where I can do like Templar storms yet.
it's totally fine. That's
Yeah.
honestly, if here's the thing, if you get to a point where you want to go Sky Toss with like archons and it's all just legit a move, that's totally fine. But
Mhm, mhm.
there's so many ways to do it that are just more solid than just rushing
Yeah.
it with Sky Toss and being like, well, fuck it, I'm just making Void Rays straight into carriers. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, yeah. That's basically what I've been doing is void race. Like I make like 4 voids and then start just pumping out carriers.
Yeah,
then I
and
just get
that you're
steamrolled.
totally gonna die to corruptors if you do that, because the only way that works is if you out micro and also out macro the Zerg at the same time, where you
Mhm.
deal damage to them with voids, and then you actually stabilize with good macro behind it, and you just out of nowhere overwhelm the Zerg with Sky, and you're just overall like a stronger player essentially.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, that's not happening.
because because if Zerg scouts it and they go, oh, you're just fucking rushing carriers behind voids, I'm just gonna go corruptor. They will just
Yes,
outmass you and then run your ass over like right away.
yeah, that's what's been happening. So in that situation, Robo first would be the move, right?
I would recommend that for Platinum,
Yeah.
only because Robo first promotes defensive play very hard, like a lot, and then
Mhm.
you could do what you can do with Robo play is it's super stable versus mid game timing players, like players who attack you off of 120 supply, 140 supply, big fucking Roach Hydra ball attacking you. Robo's gonna have a high chance to not die, and then what happens with Robo is you can max out the first time, and with the first time you max out with Robo, you then switch tech transition into Sky Toss, and if the game does not literally end with your Robo push, suddenly now you're going into Sky Toss.
Okay. I do like that actually better, I think. So just kind of do like a standard macro build with Robo and like Archon. So Archon Immortal charge lot into Sky Toss, basically.
I think it's honestly just safer overall.
Archon. Yeah. 'Cause
Uh,
I have been getting pretty much like I think the win rate was like less than 50%, like 40%
Yeah.
with that Sky Toss. Yeah.
No, exactly. Because the thing is the Zerg player, like the second you, because I'm reading what chat's saying as well right now, and chat's like, isn't defensive Sky Toss easy to do and really good? But the thing is if a Zerg player like loses an Overlord to a fucking Void Ray, they're not going to be like, I don't know what that is. They're going to be like, oh, it's a fucking Stargate, and it's a
Yeah.
Void Ray. And a lot of Zerg
Exactly.
players will look at that and just go, it's time to do a Hydra all in, or it's time
Yeah,
to do a
exactly.
Corruptor all in.
That's exactly what's happening. They see I went air because I kill like an overlord, and then they either do the Hydra timing and just steamroll me, or they go mass corruptors and then steamroll me just.
Yeah,
3
and
minutes
that'll
later,
happen
4
if
minutes
you
later.
just make mass fucking air, because
Yeah.
again, the only way air would work if you're like jeez, I'm stuttering like crazy. If you're legit gonna just skip all forms of ground cover, you're like fuck sentries, fuck stalkers, colossus, immortals, Templar, Archon,
Yeah,
like
yeah. In that build, the only reason I build a robo is for observers.
exactly.
So,
Yeah. No,
yeah.
I totally get it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where the only way that this build would ever work for you, that like a defensive turtley Skytoss build, would be a
Yeah.
map that has only one entrance on both sides of your base. Like an example would be, like check this out. I'll show you something really fast.
Sure.
I'm gonna share a screen for you. You can look at my stream or you can look at the Discord. Either way works. I'm showing my paint to you really fast. But this is the concept of maps. Okay, this will be really fast. So if you have a map that looks like this is I'll show you one. This is Golden Wall here. This is a map that used to exist in the pool. This map was overpowered for Skytoss. You would start here. This would be your starting location of your base right here. And this is how the map was. Actually, it was more like this. This was how the map was laid out. Okay, check this out. So your base would go like this. Your main base would go down like this, down a ramp, and then you'd have another, and then it would be kind of open, and you'd have another wall here that would lead to a ramp that goes like that to your natural, and your natural would go like this. And it would go back to your main, and that would be your main. So the only way into your fucking main was to the one location into your natural. And then with your main base being like this, you had a area that was like this. That was, and there was like a second like ramp here, where the only way, so like there's a base, for instance, there is a mineral line right there. There is a mineral line right there. There's a mineral line right there. The only way into all three mineral lines is through two entrances, which is right here and right here. Because every other ramp in your base is covered by the previous ramp. So maps like that where you have minimal entrances, fucking super good for Turtle Sky Toss. They're really, really, really good. But most maps, now let's do a map like one of the traditional ones in the map pool right now, which is we'll do Light Shade, okay? Let me do black text. So now we'll do Light Shade. So this is a very, very, very traditional map inside the ladder pool right now. And Light Shade has a layout that looks like this. Like your main base is in bottom right. Then you have your base layout looks somewhat similar to this. You have a main base that leads down a ramp like that, goes to a wall. Your natural comes forward to a choke point like this, kinda. So your main and natural are really nice, right? Like those are always, almost on every map, those are going to be super fucking nice. But now you have to decide, do I want to take my third base on the top or the middle? Like the middle of the map or the top side. And this is what those bases look like. If you want to take this base, you go down a ramp like this. And then this is just fucking, there's an entrance to this base that goes kind of like, it's like this. It goes back and around, and then it goes down like this. But then this base has surface area where the map has like a ramp on this side. It has a ramp down on this side. And it also has like an open, like it's like a middle hallway here, and it's got a big open terrain in the middle like this. So essentially what this means is if you want to take this base right here, you can be attacked from your third base. You can get attacked like that. You can get attacked like that. You can get attacked like that. Like your third base is so fucking exposed on so many angles, so your third base has to have this like massive fucking semicircle of defense. It's ridiculously hard to defend it. And the same thing.
I've been noticing that because sometimes I do put like 3 batteries and like 9 cannons, and then they come from the opposite side, like my exposed side.
Yeah, exactly, right.
And then I'm like, all right, those cannons and batteries didn't do anything.
Yeah, and then here's the other thing too about this other base. This other base on top has this base setup that looks like this. It goes like this. There's fucking ramps that lead into your other third base. So you have this, this is like the mineral line ramp down here. You have the middle ramp right here that just leads into the area. So they can attack your third from this angle. They can attack your third from that angle. They could go up the top hallway past the forward expansion on this side, or they could go all the way around the corner of the map and hit you from the top right expansion or your fourth base if you went in a straight line. Every base has all these fucking entrances into your base. So if you just go Turtle Sky Toss, it is a fucking bitch to hold every angle. It's super hard. Because if you overstack cannon defense on this side, suddenly they attack you on the top, and you're like, oh shit. Well, that's bad. That's not a good situation to hold from. So you have to realize the only maps that are good to go Sky Toss on defensively, for anyone out there that wants to go Sky Toss and thinks that's a good idea, you have to do it on maps that have a limited amount of entrances into your third base. So, what's up? Sorry.
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's honestly why I just recommend for like the average map pool, because right now the map pool does not promote Sky Toss very well. If you want to just rush Sky Toss versus someone who's like it promotes Sky Toss great once you actually have it going, but to build up off the ground, if your opponent realizes you're going Sky Toss, the only way Protosses make that work is by aggression onto your opponent. You cannot. Yeah. You cannot fucking be like turtly and be like, oh, yeah, I'll be okay, because there's like fucking 8 entrances into my base here. Like, we'll see what happens. Yeah, there's just too many angles. So Robo, definitely a good way to go, I would say. All right, so we did a lot of talking, but which is totally fine with me. I don't mind. But would you like me to? Is there a replay you want to look at, or do you want to go over like a live game and talk about like a build you could work with on maybe PvZ? Do you want to talk more about PvT? What are you thinking? I don't know. Did Discord just break? Shit. I think Discord might have just crashed. Hello, hello? Alright, I'm gonna restart Discord. Really fast. Sorry, dude. Discord. Disco. Okay.
Yeah.
Yo, we're back? Okay, sick.
Back.
Nice. What up, dude? The last thing I was saying, because I was talking when it cut out, was
Sure.
I just think that Robo is definitely going to be the more solid, safe way to go with everything, with PVZ.
Okay.
So, if you want to keep talking, that's by all means, it's totally fine with me. We could talk more about whatever you're interested in. Or if you want, we could go into replay, or we could switch matchups back to PvT. Whatever you're feeling.
No, let's do a replay.
Okay. If you want to as well, here's a cool thing I've been doing lately. Just whatever replay you want to go into, drop it in the Discord chat we have going on here, and I'll literally share screen with you again, and you can watch it from my perspective.
How do I do that?
So, did you title it any name?
I can retitle it right now. I'm in the.
Sure,
game
do
right
that.
now.
Just title it anything that's like easy to find.
Oh, no, I think I did title it. I think I put see.
All you gotta do then is just like, are you on Windows? If you hit like your Windows key for search, you can type in the name and it'll just go right to it.
Okay, I got it. Yeah.
And then you just drag and drop it.
I see it. Okay, so it's drag and drop.
Yeah, just drag and drop in Discord. with our, make sure you have our window, our chat we have going on right now. It be
Yes.
one.
God damn it. Hold on. It's like opening it inside the game.
Okay, no worries.
Sorry.
It's all good.
Oh my god.
Did you double click it?
I don't know what I did.
You probably if you double click it, it'll open the replay.
Okay.
It like loads StarCraft through the replay.
Oh, okay. Is that no? That's not good.
No. Don't worry. I'm not gonna show anyone what you linked me.
Okay.
It's okay. It's between us.
I just linked you my social security number.
Yeah. Right. Is that good? Oh, fuck.
Okay, I think I got it. Okay. Upload. There we go.
Yeah, that's it, dude. All right. Okay. I'm loading it right now, and I'll share the screen with you in just a second.
I titled this. I don't remember what it was.
Is watch
but I
this.
was like, yeah, but it was a couple.
Okay. Okay. So, all right, we have. So this is PvT. Okay. Which is fine. I don't mind. Okay. So we'll see what's going on for you right here. And again, you're talking about doing beta GM style. This is probably. I'm gonna watch you struggle with Widow Mines, I assume.
I have no idea, honestly, but I think it was a bio composition I struggled against.
Sure.
And I thought I was doing pretty well, and then I just got eventually smashed.
Okay. So we'll just look at what's going on with your build and making sure everything's running good. So far, you're doing great. All your close patches are stacked. You put a pylon down behind your middle line. I fucking love it. Everything's looking good.
I sometimes do the mineral line, sometimes I do the cliff. I don't know, it just depends.
I would say always do the mineral line. Never do the cliff
Yeah.
anymore. I used to do it a lot in my last Beta Gym
Yeah.
series. Stop doing that though for yourself. I would, if I could put like a disclaimer in there now, I'd be like, everyone stop doing the cliff. Don't do the cliff anymore.
Okay.
Stop doing the cliff.
Okay.
The reason why is because that cliff, like I didn't think about this when I first made the series, but that cliff trick is designed for fucking high level play. And if you're teaching someone who is lower level, oh, do the cliff. 9 times out of 10, they fuck their cliff up anyways because they're like, oh god,
Yeah.
like I just put fucking the buildings in a weird way. I stalker's stuck on the cliff now. It's like built on the wrong
Yeah.
side and my probe's
That
stuck.
happens 15% of the time,
Yeah.
the Reaper gets stuck, and then 15% of the time, the Reaper gets through anyway.
And the even bigger reason why, like that's just annoying, right? And the even bigger reason why I would say the cliff is not worth it is because it's for meta with tech vision disadvantage to your opponent, where they're like,
Okay.
"What are you doing tech-wise? I'm not sure." Now I'm freaking out. But at this league, no one fucking gives a shit. Everyone's just like, "What are you doing? I'll scan you," or like they don't give a fuck. They don't actually have to worry about scouting with a Reaper as much because most people are so overwhelmed as it is anyways, just macroing their base, and they're like, okay, well. And then like a lot of times too, when someone gets the Reaper in their base, this is the difference. You get a GM player Reaper in the base, they look for signs of what's going on, and then they kill workers. You watch a Platinum player use a Reaper, get in your base, he fucking goes right to your middle line and kills workers. He doesn't give a shit what you're doing tech wise. He's just like, I'm killing those probes. So that's it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't really fulfill what it's supposed to do. Okay, check this out. Here's one little tip. You're doing the right thing, but if you would have built your gateway right there, same exact thing, you're building a gateway in a pylon, but that would be sealed. So if your gateway was just shifted to the left about 3 grids, that would be a perfect spot. As all you want to have is you want to, like, for instance, if, like you know how like the build grid looks, where it's all like 9, like it's like 3x3 green boxes. You want to have one of the boxes overlapping something on both sides. So what your bottom left grid spot would be overlapped with this. So like for instance, if you tried to build your gateway right there, that would be invalid. But then if you built your gateway up by 1 to there, now you have a 1 overlap spot right there, right under the grid spot right here for the gateway, because again, that's part of the gate right there. So it stacks, so a Reaper can't squeeze through. Because the thing is for instance, if that's a gateway block right there, and you build it right there instead, let's say now you build it right there, okay? And now instead of building it over there, you build it right here, which is a, you know, the point I'm trying to make here is it's corner to corner. And if there's a corner to corner block, a Reaper could still fit through that. And you don't want that. You want the Reaper to run in your base, and if he runs in the south side, he gets stuck on the outside. So it's easy to push him away with the Stalker. And if he runs on the north side and runs down behind, he gets trapped so that you can catch him with the Stalker and kill him.
Got it.
So yeah, this way your core doesn't need to be like put in a weird spot as well. You could put your core like there instead.
Okay.
Not that big of a deal. We'll see how you build the rest of this. This is still salvageable, but it just requires more effort now. This is the only reason why I'm kind of talking about it.
Sure.
Okay, so you're scouting with a Gateway Scout. That's good. I like your Chrono Boost. You're saturating to 16, which is nice. Going 19 re-rally to the natural, which is good. Hopefully, you need to make a probe though. That's a bit of a blunder right there. It's kind of gonna fuck you big time.
So, what did I do wrong?
So, okay.
I thought I'd stop at 19.
No. So I actually had someone else. Okay, I feel like I probably worded this weirdly because how I've said this before. Because I legit just coached someone else about 2 days ago that said this exact same fucking thing. He's like, I thought you stopped at 19. What you do is 19 is when you rally the Nexus to your natural. You still probe though. So probe 19 goes to build the Nexus, but while you're walking your probe up there, you have the 20th probe in production.
Okay. So do I ever pause?
You do pause at 20. So once the thing is when your probe spawns at 19, because check this out, watch this. When your probe spawns at 19, you'll have about like 300 minerals or so. Or like 280, 300, somewhere around there. So your probe also stopped for, okay, you also double chrono boosted, which you don't want to do.
Yeah.
But when your probe spawns, ideally, like I think you've missed a couple rounds of probe on your Nexus here and there. But when your probe spawns, ideally what's going to happen is you're going to have about 300 minerals. But you spend your money on another probe, it drops you back down to maybe like 250.
Okay.
And then as your probe walks from the main to the natural, you're going to generate about 150 minerals in that time it takes to walk up there. And that's going to give you like exactly enough time with 20 probes in your supply to build your Nexus and then come right back to build your core.
Okay.
And then Chrono Boost as well. Or sorry, what's up?
20 I pause until I get the core.
Yeah. So once you build the Nexus is what makes you pause. So when you build, like, you had the right idea, you just did it on the wrong probe count. because you build the
Okay.
core, the Nexus, then you build the core. Because you can see you're building the Nexus right now with 95 minerals in the bank as well.
Yeah.
So you could have easily fit a probe in here and wouldn't have caused a problem. And then once you build the Nexus, your probe can come back. And if this probe is, if your pylon's like this, it's kind of far away. Your probe might want to, this probe might want to just like go to the gas, and you might want to rip another one of the probes off the gas and have it build the core. But if you're, let's just say hypothetically your pylon was like right there, and you're going to build the core right there, this probe could probably build the core and be just fine.
Okay.
Okay, so he did he actually? Did you? What was your? I want to see what your probe did.
I just checked for the. I know I should go check for gas. Yeah. I just checked to make sure that the barracks timing's the same.
That's good.
Gateway.
That's super good. That's definitely the most important part of everything, because like seeing the barracks and the gateway, seeing that they're together is so much fucking information. So the fact that you're already doing that, we might have talked about that last time.
Yes.
But yeah, that's so fucking important. Gas is nice to see, but not mandatory, especially in Plat. This is definitely the big part, because what this would tell me now for you is that you're safe to expand. This could either be, like this could become a double gas build eventually, but it's definitely not a double gas rush, like double gas before the rack. So he's not going to immediately have a factory going down like right away, because you can't afford a barracks as fast with double gas unless you like cut SCVs, which would be its own problem, right? Mm-hmm. So that's huge. I'm glad you paid attention.
I should go in and scout the gas, just make sure it doesn't have double gas anywhere.
I'll say this. There's a positive and a negative side to that. So you scouting the racks is definitely a big deal. That's nice. If you go in and scout the gas, let's just say hypothetically you see one gas, and it looks normal, but then he builds a second depot and he locks you in and he kills you with a Reaper or something, and you're like, I don't know if he expanded now. You're gonna have, there's more signs that tell you what should be there, but it's more shit you got to think about. Just like if you stay down here and you wait and you wait and you wait and you're waiting for the natural.
That was my plan. Is just I usually try to hide the probe, and
it's either way is okay, because both of them have a positive and a negative. Because this way you won't be locked out, or you won't be locked into his base to die, and you can ideally see if he expands. There's always a chance he might expand on the high ground and still kill your probe. Or there's always a chance he might be double gassing and he might just not expand at all. After he might double gas after he makes the racks, and he might he'll just never have the intention to make a command center. Your probe never sees that. So again, there's positives and negatives to both sides. But this already for you is enough information to know that you can scout him again with a sentry and you're fine up until that point.
Okay.
If you want my honest opinion, I would say this. I would say probably from now on, just scout, like after you see the racks, just scout and look at his initial gas. Like see if he has double or single or none. If it's none, that's really greedy. Or really all in with proxy. Based on what is going on there. Like then you'd want to, if he has no gas and still no expansion before you take an expansion, there's some problem there. Go check for hidden bases or proxy. Yes. But yeah, I would definitely recommend checking the gases and then going back to your base. You don't need to wait for the natural, because this tells you you can just do your build as is. Like regardless of if he does or doesn't have a natural, this is so definitive of the fact that he can't be hyper aggressive to you right now, right off the bat, that you easily have enough time to get your third pylon down and your Nexus and your battery to still be fine.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you just built a Nexus, like regardless of what you saw there. That's good. Your probe is kind of chilling, runs around. I think you're just like taking a detour to be like, I don't want to lose my probe, so I'm just gonna not have to worry about it, run around for a bit. If I'm getting chased, then come back and scout it again, which is fine. That was one of those things though where I would say this probe scout's not super necessary. Once you like leave the base, just go back at home and mine minerals, because it would be better off if this probe came back to start mining minerals on your natural, or for instance, like look at your main. I want to see your main base. Did you rip off to saturate your gas? I want to see. So your Nexus is still rallied, or okay, that third pylon way too fast. Way too fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to have probe 23 build third pylon. So you basically the first probe that spawns out of the Nexus that is after your 3 out of 3, 3 out of 3, 16 out of 16, that probe goes down to the natural and then builds the pylon. You will never even come close to supply blocking. The reason why is because even when you build a third pylon like that, you're still not even going to get close to supply blocking because this Nexus is going to give you 15 fucking supply when it's done.
Yeah.
And then this second pylon is already being made, which is important. And you making the second pylon in your main base is good because that way you don't have to waste a bunch of mining time like this, for instance. Because wasting too much mining time right now is...
You like the second pylon in the main?
Yes. So what the build should be, I'll even do placements for you, okay? This is what your build order should be. We're assuming you're making probes the entire time, except for at 20, you make Nexus, then core, and then resume probe production the entire time. So that's the only thing about probes that stops. Otherwise, it's always pumping. But building placement, this is how it would go, okay? Gas. Yeah. All right, sorry. Pylon, gateway. Pylon, gateway, gas, Nexus, core, gas, pylon. So you could have, if your pylon's here, you could have a second pylon over here, or you could have a second pylon up here. Basically, what I want you to do is I want you to build all of your buildings with your gas probes. So don't do it with you. Like, try to get like a perfectly saturated mineral line, and then don't disrupt it.
Okay.
So if you want to build a second gas, and or rather a second pylon, if your first gas happens to be right here, and you're ready to build your second pylon. So like if your pylon's there, this is your gas, and you're ready to build pylon number 2, and this has no probes yet. Like if you're starting a probe, you could be like, fuck it, I'll build a pylon there. That's fine. You could always also build a pylon right there. Either side. Just do it with a gas probe on either side of the gas.
Okay.
And then your core always pairs with your gateway, and placement wise, like it's somewhere near the gateway, because it's off your first pylon.
Okay.
And then, yeah, that's really it. And then,
so we got pylon, gate, gas, Nexus, core, gas, and then
pylon.
And then third pylon.
No. Second pylon.
Oh, second pylon. Okay. Pylon.
So it's going to be, because your second pylon's going to go down probably around like 21, 22 supply. Your third pylon's going to go down around 24 supply. Because again, you're going to be taking your third pylon when you have 3, 16. So that's 22 here. You're going to have 23 supply coming out of the Nexus to run down there, and you're going to have 24 supply building in the Nexus. Does that make sense?
23, 24, yeah.
So because the 23 supply is going to be the probe that the first probe that runs down to the natural, and 24 supply is going to be the next probe building in the Nexus. And you're going to be starting your third pylon just around the time, like right around the time when this Nexus is probably like right there in production. It's going to be like almost done. Because now look at your supply. You have like fuckloads, and it's going to get even bigger, and then it's going to get even bigger again. It's going to go all the way up to like 54. See, like that was good. So you fixed the wall anyways. You have the right idea. Like I will not harp on you at all about this. This is fine. The concept is still correct. You still overlapped the grid by the wall and the core, so this is blocked, which is why the Reaper got so stupid here. Which is exactly what you want to happen. You want the Reaper to get derped out as it comes to try to harass you and then just dies. And then you make a sentry. So ideally you want to make a sentry second as well, always.
Oh.
So sentry second, and the reason why you want to...
I don't know why I usually do that.
That's okay. I just making sure the reason why you want to do sentry second is because if you have proper chrono boost, which is this game you kind of fucked up your chrono boost a little bit. With proper chrono boost, your money is going to be stretched super thin. You're going to barely be able to afford probes properly. And your stalker and your sentry, you're going to be like, fuck, I'm like trying to like squeeze the bottom of the barrel here for my money. And if you, when you make your stalker, that is. But when you make your sentry, your money is going to get alleviated a little bit because the sentry is super cheap in minerals and it's more expensive in gas. What happens then is that when it opens up your minerals a little bit for a little bit of like less pressure on them, that is when, during the sentry's build time, you build the robo and the second gateway, which costs a lot more minerals. And you can also throw it on your battery around that time too. So you can pair battery with robo with second gate. So if everything you just made right now is good. If you made a sentry instead of a stalker, that'd be perfect. And if you made the gateway with your robo, that would have been perfect. Because a robo and a gateway have the same build time, and you want these buildings to be finishing around the same time. Also, something to note that's really important too. For just also never chrono boost your gateway more than once. Be very careful about that.
I think I realized I forgot the sentry.
Oh, okay. Like, oh, shit. I would say even if you forget it, don't chrono boost it. Yeah. Okay. You want to make sure. The reason why is because you want your probes to be the priority, and you want to like make sure you chrono boost your gateway the first time, for the first stalker. That's important. Just in case, like that way you don't take damage from a Reaper if there is a Reaper. Yeah. Then probe after, or sorry, then sentry after, then go back to stalkers. Ideally, you're gonna get 3 units out of this gateway just before warp gate's done, and then warp gate happens, and then you're, from 3 units from the first gate, you're now making warp-ins non-stop. Second gateway, ideally, is supposed to make 0 units until it's a warp gate, and then it makes warp-ins after the warp gate. So, basically, the way the rotation goes is it'll go stalker, sentry, stalker, immortal, double stalker. Because you make stalker, sentry, stalker out of the first gate, you prioritize robo, immortal first. And the reason why you do that is because you'll have a little bit of money to spend before, when like warp gate's like right there. It's like almost fucking done. It's like 5-7 seconds from being done, something like that. You have a little bit of money, and you can choose: do I want to make 2 stalkers, or do I want to make an immortal? And just so you know, an immortal and 2 stalkers have almost the exact same mineral cost and gas cost. It's super close. It's a 25 mineral difference. Same gas cost, same supply cost. The only thing that the immortal is 25 minerals more expensive. That's literally it. But if you made 2 stalkers when your warp gate's like right there, you'd be like, okay, well, we're starting 2 stalkers and warp gate's going to be done, and then I can't use warp gate now. And the reason why you want to make sure you prioritize warp gate, I don't know if you know this, but if you look at the build time of a stalker, it's 30 seconds. In a warp gated warp gate, it's only 23 seconds of a cooldown. So you get 7 seconds off every stalker, essentially, which is fucking huge. And then when you're saving for the minerals to save to actually make 2 stalkers out of the warp gate, that difference is you're making the immortal first, and then warp gates finish, and then you make 2 stalkers. And that's ideally how you'd want it to go. So again, it's just stalker, sentry, stalker, immortal, double stalker, warp-ins. And then from there on out, you're just making units as you can whenever you have the money to do it. You're trying to maintain production the entire time.
Okay.
And chrono boost as well. Always, always just know, chrono boost goes like this. Chrono boost should initiate on the Nexus after your pylon is done. So pylon 1 finishes, immediately chrono boost the Nexus. Pylon 2 finishes, immediately chrono boost the Nexus. Pylon 2 as well, though, it not only chrono boosts the Nexus, you also you pair that with chrono boosting the gate for the first stalker, and then from that point on, you just literally chrono boost Nexus, 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 Nexus. The only time you'll deviate is when your sentry hallucinates a phoenix across the map, and you scout, oh fuck, this guy's like legit gonna just all in me now. Then you could be like, okay, let's shift priority of chrono boost into my robo. Or shift it into your gateway, or whatever you want to do. Like, whatever makes sense. Whatever you... I would say Robo is probably the best choice, because Immortals are fucking strong. But yeah, like, that's all it is for the generalized chrono boost. And then once the thing is, too, is once your mineral count, your probe count on top right, once this probe count is, like, 65 to 70, right around almost 70-ish, that's when you're going to stop chrono boosting your probes. And when you want to do that, this is a let me ask you one more thing. Have you heard about me talk about the 2-minute rule?
No.
Okay, so the 2-minute rule is it's the thing I'm going to talk about a lot the next time I make a B to GM series, which is going to probably be like next month. But what the 2-minute rule is in general, if you want to play with proper expansions, you should be expanding every 2 minutes until you claim every base on your side of the map. And
I heard you say this once. I
okay.
didn't hear
The reason why it makes sense is because if you expand at 2 minutes and 4 minutes and 6 minutes and so on and so on and so on, and 8 minutes and 10 minutes and 12 minutes, what happens is is if you're properly saturating your bases, you're going to get to the point where you have a fully saturated mineral line for the most part. It's going to be very close to a fully saturated mineral line if you're playing properly, to where you can now afford another base for your first 2, 4, 6, for your first 4 bases essentially. From there, bases will start mining out far patches after they've been claimed for 8 minutes. So if we expand 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 6 minutes, that 4 base saturation is what we're aiming for, because we're always going to try to aim for about 80 probes, right? 80 to 85 probes. Once you get to 8 minutes, so now we're taking our 5th base at 8 minutes. Well, at 8 minutes, our main base starts mining out. So we start transferring probes at 8 minutes. And if we go to our next base at 10 minutes, our natural starts mining out. And our next base at 12 minutes, our next base will start mining out, and so on and so on and so on and so on. And you do this until you literally claim every base on your side of the map. And the whole base doesn't mine out. It's just the far patches, because they're smaller. They have only 900 minerals instead of 1,800. But then by the time you're at like 12 minutes, or rather, let me say it like this. A close patch has double the resources of a far patch. So if a far patch mines out every 8 minutes, you would think that a close patch would mine out double that, because it has double the minerals. So it would mine out about every 16 minutes, which is fairly accurate. A close patch does have slightly better efficiency because it's a little bit closer to the nexus. So a close patch probably mines out around every 15 minutes, honestly.
15. Okay.
So if we think about that, by the time we go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, by the time you take all of your bases, like you're ready to go, you're going to start legit mining out, and now every 2 minutes at that point, the close patches from your initial 4 base setup is going to start disappearing. So you're going to really start filling in quickly the rest of your bases, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it's going to become a new 4 base setup essentially, or like 3 base setup, however many bases you have. So the 2 minute rule is fucking huge because it gives you proper expansion timing, and it's always a checkpoint on the clock where it goes, oh shit, I'm at like 6 minutes and 7 seconds, and I haven't yet started my 4th base. I should have started it 7 seconds ago.
Yeah.
So it's not just about your probes anymore. It's also a checkpoint in the game to go, am I actually on point or am I behind? And if you're behind, it means your probes have been made poorly. So yeah, like right now you'd want to be setting up your 3rd, and your natural is a bit undersaturated. So I would say you've missed a little bit of probe time here and there, and maybe chrono time as well, because like shit like this, for instance, like not making probes and stuff. So definitely keep tabs on that more as much as you can. So they have a long time to not build probes there. And then okay, you're actually making a bunch of gates. Are you gonna go all in here?
No.
Okay.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay, sure. So yeah, no, this kind of shit. If the second you deviate and you make a bunch of production, this is all in now. Like the only way this would make sense is if you made like a warp prism out of this fucking out of this robo, and you just fucking. Your plan now is to just warp in zealots and stalkers in his base all day, and try to kill him.
What? When do you start adding on gates and stuff?
So, here's the general concept of what you're doing. You want to maintain production out of existing things the entire time.
Yes.
So, if your current production represents 2 gateways and a robo and 2 nexus, if you are maintaining production out of those buildings the entire time, and your money is going down, 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 it means don't add on more production yet.
Okay.
If your base is saturated and you're following now you'll take from this lesson the 2 minute rule. If you're at the 2 minute mark where you're like, okay, time to take another base, that's where your money should be going now. And now your money should then be going into saturating that base. Yeah, and then the next 2 minute mark, saturating that base. Generally speaking, if you're macroing properly, you do not want to explode your gateways until around the time when you start your 4th base. Okay. So that you don't want to be exploding your gateways until around 6+ minutes, like 6:30 or something. Yeah. And now the fact that you exploded your gateway count at 5 minutes on just 2 base saturation which is actually
Yeah.
only 39 probes. What's happening to you now is you actually have enough money to maintain production constantly off of your 2 gates and your robo, but now you've not taken a third base, so you are
Yeah.
actually cutting your probe cost for the most part, because you've kind of stopped making probes for a while here,
Yeah.
and it's making your money pile up because you're no longer building probes and you're no longer building nexuses. So now you're like, well, fuck, what do I do with my money? I will make a bunch of gates. But what's going to happen to your gates now is you're no longer going to have 100%
Be
uptime
empty.
of production. Exactly. You're going to have gates be like 20% uptime. They're going to produce things 1 out of every 5 unit rounds that they could have produced. Because you cannot afford fucking like 7 gate production right now. If you're going to also take a third base here and move on with that.
Yeah. No, I think that's what we're gonna do.
So be very careful about that. Follow the 2-minute rule, and that'll give you a lot more of a baseline for like how fast you should be expanding.
Okay.
Because the general idea is, this is the main idea of StarCraft 2, is you do not want to ever add in a production facility that you're not going to maintain 100% uptime out of.
Mm-mm.
The only time that ever makes sense is if your build is a timing attack, or even further into that degree where it's an all-in. If you're like, I'm just going to do a 7-gate all-in, and I might not maintain 100% uptime, and the only reason why you wouldn't is because you're busy microing, and you're like trying to fucking micro your units to kill them, and you're like not multitasking the best, which is still always things you can also improve on. But another way to explain it is, the only time it ever makes sense to add on production like this is if you're going to cut one of your costs early, which is your worker production.
Yeah.
So if your worker production's gone and you no longer have to be like 50 50 50 50 50 or really 100 100 100 100 because you're doing a double nexus, that's a lot of money that gets freed up, which you could then put into a timing attack for this kind of shit. So if that's your goal, that would make sense, but obviously it's not your goal. So
not.
this is just, all this does is it hinders and slows down your nexuses and your fucking probes like crazy.
Yeah. What do you think about that third? Because I noticed earlier you're pointing at a different third.
Oh, either third's fine. This third's fine. This third's fine. They don't matter. Just to tell you the concept of what makes sense. Units, like I would say this, Hellion drop gets a bigger advantage off of the third you took, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
At the same time, it doesn't matter though because you have no probes here yet.
Mm.
And the reason why is because a Hellion drop could be like here. He could load up a medevac and then he could be here, going here now, and your units to try to defend that would have to go like this.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, if you were going for like Sky Toss, it would make sense to take this third, because you could easily defend all your bases with air, which does not matter that there's a cliff here. It's very like your air could sit there, and you're not only defending your third, you're defending your natural, like easy peasy defense with air. But if you're going ground and you fight someone who is going air, it's better to take this third because he has to take longer detours to go to your bases.
Okay.
It's just more time, and like so the amount of time it would take him to go like this and around, if you just took your stalkers and ran down, and ran up the ramp, you could defend it. Same thing with if like he goes across this side, if he's like back here and he goes down this way, a little bit more annoying, but still better than if he just like back here killing your probes, and then like comes back here and kills your probes. Because then your stalkers can't just be like, oh, I'll just walk over with you. They gotta be like, as he flies down, your stalkers have to run up, and you literally go the opposite way because you have to go up and around and then back down. And if he realizes you're in here and now he's down, like let's say he's like leaving the base as your stalkers get over here to punish him, he could literally go, oh, I'll just go right back here then, like right there. And now your stalkers have to go all the way fucking back around again to deal with it again. So it's annoying for you. So I would say if your composition is going to be ground like this, try to always expand in a line. Makes your life easier. Because it makes it easier for you to defend air, essentially. Same thing, same concept with like mutas. It makes it easier if the mutas were flying around your bases, but you're all in a line, you could actually keep up with the mutas easier than allowing him to use cliffs against you. So this would be, if you were fighting mutas, this should actually be like either your 4th or your 5th base. 4th base would be okay because at that point, mutas shouldn't be as scary. Or air units wouldn't be as scary because at that point you would have a lot of production going up, and that's when you explode your gateway count. So you could do things like I'm over here. Mutas are flying into this base. I just warped in fucking 8 stalkers with 2 battery, or with a cannon and battery setup going on here.
Well, what do you think about defending that Hellion drop? I should always just maybe keep stalkers in
Okay.
my mineral line, or
I would say that's fine. That's not a big deal, or that's not a bad idea. Another way, so like definitely do that if you feel like that kind of shit happens to you a lot. Yeah, spread your units out. Like have a couple units here, have some units here, have some units here. If you're gonna do this though, always have a spotter in front of your base. So like for instance, be like put a pylon there, and put a pylon like there. The reason why is because if your pylon fucking dies, if the Terran's moving out with like a stim pack timing in the front of your base, and he runs into a pylon, you now have like 6 seconds to react by going, hey army, come back and group up. And then as he gets here, your army's grouped up here.
Okay.
And another way you can also deal with this, so definitely start doing that if you're going to split your army around, so you have less chance to take damage from multi-prong, or like sneaky drops and shit. But another way you can deal with this shit is also when you get in the phase of building pylons like randomly all over the place, start building pylons like this, build a pylon like this, and like this. So you can have like, you'll have like vision where it's like that's discovered, that's explored, or like really like that is explored from a pylon in the top right corner of that. So you can see drops and shit before they happen, or banshees or whatever.
Yeah.
So like that pylon doesn't need to be there, for instance. Main pylon and second pylon are good. Third pylon is good. This pylon could, instead of being there, could be there.
Got it.
You could do double pylon on your third bases. Like every new expansion, I always say double pylon it. Personally, I love it because it gives you more pylon room to work with. You could always, if you feel the need, if you're like, fuck, I just really need to get those pylons down faster, you could do single pylon for now on your new expansions. Just one pylon at least is good still. And then later on, you can double up. Like once you get later on in the game and like you want to like add in static D for real, you could then add on a pylon at that point. Anything would work, but is all you really need, all you're missing out on is this pylon just needs to be up, and you need to have like at least 1, if not 2 pylons here, and you're fine.
Okay.
Yeah, now like all your gateways are producing nothing. Your nexus are like going on and off. So this is the shit that's just gonna fuck you over repeatedly.
Yeah. Okay. No, I gotta do that 2-minute thing.
Maintain that production, dude.
Yeah.
You should just know this too. If we're playing off the clock, just know at 6 minutes you should have started your 4th base.
Yeah.
So we're at 7:07, and at like 6:30, if you're still like confused as to like when you should be taking your extra production, around 6:30 is when you should do it, roughly. Like if you're really fucking doing, if you're like cranking out like everything really fast, you could do it at like 6:10, 6:15. But if you're playing kind of standard and you're playing at a pace that, in my opinion, what I think a platinum player is comfortable to play at, probably 6:30 would be around your timer to be hitting these things at. And if you're at 6:30 and you're adding on more production, I would say the amount you should add on should be 6 more gateways to go to a total of 8 gates and 1 robo.
Okay.
And then you don't add on production anymore until you max out. And when you max out, that's when you go for like the beta gym style of like fucking crazy production of like 20 to 24 production buildings.
Okay.
And also, if we're talking about Sky Toss, okay, I would say this. This would be a great, I'll even write it down. Sky Toss transition example. Max initially on 20 gate plus 2 robo. That's totally fine. Then on top of that, you add on 5 Stargate plus a fleet, obviously plus a fleet beacon because you need that for your tech path. But this would take you to a total of 27 production buildings. So disclaimer would be with Skytoss transitions don't take effect of 20 to 24 production buildings. Something like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you just add Skytoss onto it, essentially. So you still would go to the max gateway robo shit. So you could still play the mid game really heavily if you needed to, and a lot of your games might end there. But if the game does not end and you want to go Skytoss, that would be a fucking ball in time to go Skytoss.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like that like, because the thing is, well, around here's the crazy thing as well. Look at your probe count right now. It's at 47. And if you follow the 2-minute rule, your fourth base right now would be done. Because like it would be like if you threw it down, you're at 6 minutes. It takes 71 seconds to build the Nexus, so it would be done right at 7:11, right now. And when your fourth base is done, you're probably gonna have a pretty decent amount of probes to start initially sending to it, because you're pumping your economy off of 3 Nexus already with Chrono. This is when you would do, when your fourth base is done, you do one final Chrono boost on all your Nexus. Like, so your fourth base is done and you literally Chrono boost the last time here. Your probe count would probably be, right now, right about 70. So you'd have like maybe 70, like 72 probes, something around there, but you start Chrono boosting all 4 Nexus. And your probe count will blow up into about 80 probes in a matter of about the next 15 to like 20 seconds.
Okay.
So essentially, you would want to be maxed out on saturation around 730, like in the 80 plus range or around 730. And right now, if we look at 730, you're going to be probably like at 53 probes or something, or like 49 still. So you're definitely behind where you should be. And it's just because you made a fuckload of gates and you expanded slowly. So 2-minute rule is going to help you a shitload.
Okay. Paying a lot of attention to that.
If you want another example too, the first Protoss I coached with this 2-minute rule thing as well. I'll link it to you after this is over, but you could definitely watch that as well. I run a Protoss through the 2-minute rule thing I'm talking about, and you could have another visual example of it. It's like ViBE's beta GM, new beta GM version for Protoss, for people watching the YouTube video. But yeah, I don't know. That would be fucking massive for you, and we'll keep going from here. But I feel like your build already right now is it's in a weird position. It's a weird state because your probe count is very low, and like right now again, you should be expanding to your 5th base, but you're still on 3. Because the thing about the 2-minute rule as well is it existed forever. It's the same thing that Beta Gym already had. It's just I didn't explain it that way. But I feel like people can way fucking easier understand the 2-minute rule than when you're saturated, expand.
Yeah. I think that's a better timer to check on yourself. I'm like, yeah, I'm not really saturated quite yet.
Yeah, because that has a lot of room for error if you miss probes.
Yeah, just because I didn't chrono correctly, that's why I'm not saturated.
Yeah. And you're also missing probes here and there like this with the Nexus going idle again. And then if you're going to expand again, it just kind of fucks you. Yeah, you're expanding again right now. So the probe definitely need to be built a lot more. Just know that there's only 2 times the probe should ever stop for the build you're trying to do. The first time is a very brief window where you're making your Cyber Core and your Nexus. The second time is when you're done making them at 80 plus.
Okay.
It never stops beyond that. And if you do, it means you're making mistakes. Every time that happens, mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're switching into Charge Lot Archon Immortal. I love it. This is good. Your composition is solid. And you have double forge with weapons and armor. That's nice versus Terran. He pushes you. This is again just that moment where you ideally would just want to have a lot more. Like that. This is gonna be the underlying story of the game here for you repeatedly.
I would have had more. Yeah.
But ideally, what would happen is the second you max, okay, the second that you fucking hit 200 supply, you can add on 2 things. Number 1 is your static D. 2, like you can do it on every matchup as well. 2 cannons and 1 battery on every base. This help deal with DTs. It helps deal with mutas, Ling run-bys, medevac drops, Widowmine drops, Hellion run-bys, fucking everything that does harass to your worker lines. And then not only would you add on static D, you would add on 1 Stargate. And then when the Stargate's done, you could add on 4 more Stargates and a Fleet Beacon. And you could start switching into Sky Toss for your overall, like, fucking Deathball God comp. Also, we kind of brushed over the Colossus concept as well. Let's go back and talk about that because that's super important. We just kind of talked about your macro, which definitely is the biggest thing of all here. Your macro, yeah, for real. The macro needs to be pushed up a bit.
And it's good that I'm hearing this. I thought my macro was actually not bad, but
yeah,
you pointed out so many things I didn't.
Yeah, follow that 2-minute rule, and you're gonna be like, holy fuck, dude! Like your macro's gonna explode. You're gonna feel. I guarantee for the first few games you play it, you're gonna be like, Jesus Christ, I have to expand again. Yeah. Like, I'm not fucking ready for these. Like, they're gonna feel so fast.
I'm not emotionally ready to expand again.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not ready for this. But so again, with talking about your Sentry Scout, obviously you would have wanted to make it second. We know that you made a mistake there. We talked about it before. But your first Scout of Hallucination Phoenix, this is what tells you. This is the one deviation you can make in your build if you need to. So you got to be really careful about like not waiting too long to use it. So 75 is the goal. You waited a little bit. Like obviously it was late. On top of not only that it was third, but it was late for the fact that it had like 21 energy when the Phoenix spawned. So try to don't have to be perfect. Just know that the faster you do this, the more realistic you can know if you need to make Colossus or not. However, I don't think people are going to do these crazy Widowmine all-ins to you, or it's going to be like, holy fuck, 10 seconds is going to make or break the difference for you. So if you fuck up a little bit and you wait 27 seconds longer than you should have, it's not going to be the end of the world for you, most likely. It's just this is the Scout that is super important, okay? When you finally do it, you do need to do it in a window of relativity of like maybe 30 seconds. Like somewhat early game is what I'm trying to say. But this Scout right here.
5 minutes too late.
Or what's up, sorry?
5 minutes is too late.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking late, yeah. But now check this out. What are you seeing here? See this Reactor Factory? Fucking make Colossus.
Yeah.
So if you see someone who does something like this, let's keep going around his base for a second. What else do we see? Are you out or are you going back in? You kind of go around the front, you chill, you see a bunker, some Marines. This is fine. It's whatever. That was enough information for me to... Oh, actually, if you notice, watch this.
He lifted it off.
Yeah, as I say, make sure you pay close attention as well, because if you see that, if you actually see the fucking factory lift off of it, I would say maybe now, not as much of an important thing to do. I will 100% say you are totally fine to make Colossus against Terran without a care in the world, as long as they don't do a tank rush attack to you. So the only thing that would ever tell you you do not want to make Colossus would be a tech lab already like right away when your first scout hits him on the factory. Yeah. Okay. So because for instance, if you make Colossus against tanks, but you also have charge lots, you don't give a shit. Charge lots will be like, oh, tanks? What tanks? I don't give. Like, they're dead now. Charge lots are pretty good here. In general, most of the time that will be what happens in your games if you macro properly. But if you don't see a tech lab on the factory, I just said that twice, the same thing twice. If you do see a tech lab on the factory, though, so we're not talking about late when you have charge now, before charge, if there's tanks and he does like a 3 tank timing to you or something like that, like he just pushes you with siege tanks, you could totally fucking die if you go Colossus there. So if you see a fucking, like the first sentry, you just look at the factory and go, what is it? If it's a reactor, or if it's nothing at all, you can still make Colossus, or you can make just Immortals. You literally, it's a judgment call for you, whatever you feel like doing. If you see a tech lab, definitely do not make Colossus. Make Immortals. I do think though, 100% with certainty here, you don't have to make Colossus to beat Terran. You just need to macro better with Immortals, and you'll be fine. If you want to add in Immortal, if you want to add in Colossus though, just know that At any, like when you're doing it like right now, around like the time like after you take your third base, because right around the time when you take your third base is going to be right around the time when you scout the Terran, right around 4 minutes. And once you scout the Terran, by all means you have the choice to go, I'll take a fucking Robo Bay, and we'll start making, like, we'll still keep making Immortals until Robo Bay is done, and then I'll make like 4 Colossus, and then go back to making Immortals. That is totally fine. If you want to do that, you can. I would say if it's not tanks, there's definitely a lot of power there. Not mandatory though. I would say try it, see how you feel with it. See if you like it. Because here's the trade-off. Okay, this is the trade-off. If you go Colossus in the mid game against Terran, it's definitely going to help beat the shit out of Widow Mines and Bio. I would say definitely do it if you 100% know it's Widow Mines. But if you're in that, like, I'm not really sure area, and you don't know what it is, and you just know it's not tanks, but you're not really sure if he's using Widow Mines at all, if you go Colossus, all that's going to do to you is it will delay your Sky Toss. Because it's more expensive. Because you're adding in more expensive shit. But if
I like Colossus. So if I don't see a tech lab, I'll just go Colossus.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's good. I mean, they're gonna do great. They're honestly gonna be super fucking strong.
Okay.
Because they're gonna be ideally in the back line behind your army, and they're just gonna be roasting Bio all day as well. Like Marines are gonna just fall over.
I think what I'm getting from you. My problem wasn't like, oh man, Marauders, I can't beat Marauders. It was mainly just my macro.
Yeah, it is, yep. 100%, yeah. Like when I watched your macro there, you were so far behind. Like when I looked at the game,
I didn't relate that. I thought like, dude, Marauders are impossible to beat. I can't beat them, but my macro was messed up.
Like a minute ago when we were looking at the game, when you were getting attacked down here, around like 11 minutes, you were like at 140 supply or something, when you should be maxed out before that.
Yeah.
And if you were maxed out, you would be like you wouldn't even think twice about it. You'd be like, what did he make? It's fucking like dead. Like who cares?
Yeah,
like,
I wouldn't even notice. Yeah.
Yeah. So it really definitely comes down to the biggest thing of all is the two things that fucked you the most were these gateways you just made right now at this point in the game, and you stop making probes multiple times throughout this game, and that needs to never happen unless you're making the first Nexus core or you're just done making probes.
Yeah. That makes sense.
All right. Well, I guess we'll just speed up to the end here. Yeah, charge lot's pretty good. Nice. And then as well, the last thing too, one of the huge things about your chrono is, like I said before, remember how I said when you start your fourth base, or sorry, when your fourth base is done at like 7-11 or whatever it was, and you do that one final chrono boost on all your Nexus, which is going to pretty much hit you to that like ideal probe count. From that point on, you chrono boost nothing but upgrades. Like you can chrono boost your council for charge, and you chrono boost your weapons and armor nonstop until you're 3-3.
Okay.
So that's where your chrono boost goes from then on. And then once your 3-3 is done, if you decide you want to do the Skythos transition, you then chrono boost your weapon upgrade on your core for air weapons until that's level 3. And then you can chrono boost out carriers themselves as well if you have excess chrono boost at that point in the game.
Okay.
Yeah, your army.
My supply was actually like 120. He was maxed out. So my army actually wasn't terrible.
Yeah, no, that's the power of charge lots that are just taking damage. Because he went a lot of Marauder, and your charge lots take like garbage damage to Marauder. Like Marauders do no damage to Zealots really.
I didn't even realize, just looking back on it, that he was at 200 supply and I was like 120. So it's actually not a bad trade for me at all.
Yeah, no, it's good. And like for like how effective your army was, definitely not good that you're that low in supply. And it's just because he didn't make probes. But like your Colossus did a shitload of work there, and your Archons did a ton of work there, and your Zealots, they did some damage, but they definitely absorbed a lot of it. And this is why if you get to 4 Colossus, like Colossus are massive, so let's just pretend like he was pushing on this. Let's say like his army was here and you were fighting like right here. If you were realistically in a fight like this is like a lot of terrain situations, or like right here for instance, if your army's sitting right there and he's right here. 4 Colossus, like look how big this unit is. It walks over Zealots, but it cannot walk over each other. So Colossus, and then if you think about this, like this Colossus right here, like You know, put it like 4 times in a concave, like Colossus, Colossus, Colossus. Like it definitely can fill in areas pretty fast. And that's why I was saying like 4 is good, not only because 4 is good for the concave, but 4 Colossus, when you hit a unit, ideally is going to one-shot most things that matter, or 2-shot most things that matter. So you're like it's you're not going to have a bunch of overkill. Having Colossus all shoot, like if you had like 12 Colossus and they're all shooting the same shit, you're going to have a bunch of Colossus like overkilling a lot of the same shit, which doesn't need to happen. And they're also super high in supply. There's 6 fucking supply per. So this allows you to still have a really well-balanced army on the ground that's not just Colossus. Yeah. Archon, Archon Zealot, with a couple Colossus here and there, those are definitely going to mow down the shit out of the backline. And that right there was just a supply problem.
Yeah.
Also, not only supply problem, but look at the upgrades. 2-3,
Yeah.
1-1.
Yeah.
So that comes down to your chrono boost on your forges.
All right. I think I got a better understanding of why you keep losing.
Yeah, man. No, it's 100% your macro. Because check this out. If you follow the 2-minute rule, that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. That's 7 expansions. So you should be on 8 bases right now. And you have 4.
Close. Yeah, not even close.
And like realistic on this map though, 8 bases would mean you'd be like taking this base as well. Because there's only 7 bases per side, which is fine. But still, easily 7 bases at this point for beat a gym style.
And I'm gonna try to pay attention to that 2-minute thing.
Yeah, and then like look at this too, like you're under saturation by quite a bit, and you're oversaturated. Even though it's not by much, you're oversaturated. You're undersaturated by 1. You're oversaturated again, and you're oversaturated again. Yeah. So maintaining like good economy is also important as well. And here the crazy thing as well is you're also, look at these patches, like 150, 140, 150. You're gonna mine out again, and suddenly this face is gonna say 17 out of 8.
Yeah. Pretty similar.
And at that point, you're like, where the fuck do I send probes to? I don't know. I need to expand again, I guess. But it's like beyond when you should have already done it by far.
Yeah.
And there should be, like I said before, there should be like another, probably like 16 probes that are alive right now that are also actively mining. And you would have, if you had those too, you would have nowhere to put them right now. They would just be like fucking red, deep red everywhere. So definitely keep up the mining. Make sure you focus on that like a shitload. That is definitely the biggest flaw of your play. And then like I said, I'll link you the other video that I recommended, so you can see like another coaching lesson example of someone who just legit the whole lesson worked on proper 2-minute rule expanding. So you can see how the build would go more or less. And yeah, I don't know. You have any questions to wrap it up?
No, man, there's a lot of information. I think overall, just trying to hit that 2-minute marker should hopefully get me out of Plat 2 pretty soon.
All right. Well, dude, good luck. Thanks for doing another lesson. And yeah, let me know. Like, come by the stream. Let me know how it's going and shit like that. And
excellent.
Yeah, I'll have this VOD you by probably tomorrow.
Excellent, man. Thank you.
Take it easy. Have a good rest of your night, dude.
Good night.
See you. All right, guys. Boom. That's been another coaching lesson with Dr. Disaster. Dr. Disaster, much love, man. Appreciate you. I won't share your social security number with anybody. Don't worry. Your secret's safe with me. Guys, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Until next time, go try the 2-minute rule. Go practice in your own games. And good luck. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys. Bye. See ya.